guys, I'm Yasir and today we'll discuss that how to calculate tubing volume. Here we have a piece of tubing that is basically a coil tubing pipe. So with the help of this coil tubing pipe, we'll learn that how to calculate tubing volume. We know that while performing drilling jobs and intervention jobs, we have to calculate the wellbore volume, tubing capacity, completion volume, and many other times we need to find out the capacity, that is the volume of a given tubing. So we'll learn that how to calculate the tubing volume of a given tubing or of any given pipe. So let's understand that how to calculate tubing volume. In calculation of tubing volume, the first thing we have to know is that there's a term used known as tubing capacity. The tubing capacity is basically the volume per foot, that is how many barrels can be stored in 1 foot is known as tubing capacity. For example, see this pipe. For example, this pipe is, let's say, 2 feet. How much volume can come inside 1 foot is known as tubing capacity. We call it barrel per foot, that is how many barrels we can store in 1 foot. Once we calculate barrel per foot, then we'll multiply with the total length and we'll get the total volume of given tubing. So let's see that how to calculate tubing capacity, that is barrel per foot. For that we need one parameter of that pipe, that is ID. So can you bring someone? So here we have pipe. See, this pipe have two dimensions. The one is OD and one is ID. For the calculation of tubing capacity, we need this ID. Okay, time being we are using this 1.75 pipe. While the calculation, you have to remember that the dia which is mentioned on the reports, it is the outer diameter. Okay, for example, now I am saying that 1.75. This 1.75 is the outer diameter. Its inner diameter will be lesser of this wall thickness, that is OD minus 2 times of this wall thickness is the ID. So when we are calculating tubing capacity, we have to use the ID. So first we will calculate its ID. This pipe which I am using is 1.75 OD. Its wall thickness is 0.204. So we first calculate the ID. Okay, so we have seen that this pipe is basically 1.75 OD. So its ID is OD minus 2 times of wall thickness. The wall thickness of this pipe is 0.175. So we'll subtract this 0.175 2 times from this outer diameter. So let's perform this calculation. So this is 1.75 minus 0.175 minus 0.175, because we have to subtract 2 times. So the ID of this pipe which we have just discussed is 1.4. Now we'll take the square of this 1.4, that is 1.4 multiplied by 1.4. So 1.96, we'll divide this with the conversion factor, that is 1029.4. So this is 0.00190 is the capacity, that is barrel per foot. For this particular pipe, the capacity of the pipe is 0.0019 barrel per foot. The formula for the internal capacity is ID square over 1029.4, and we have just seen that when we put the values for this given pipe, the answer we get is what is 0.0019. That is the barrel per foot capacity for this 1.75 OD pipe. Now just assume that we have 1000 foot of this pipe. So we'll just multiply this barrel per foot with 1000 and we'll get the required volume of 1000 foot pipe. So it will be approximately 1.9 barrels in 1000 feet of 1.75 pipe. One thing more we have to remember is that when we will use ID, this ID should be in inches, and the length of the pipe when we are using it should be in feet. So in the report, if you have length in meters, before using this formula, convert it into feet, and if you have ID in some other unit, then convert that ID into inches. That's it. Now we'll just summarize what we have discussed. So we have discussed that to calculate the tubing volume, first we have to calculate the tubing capacity, and the formula for calculation of tubing capacity is ID square over 1029.4. So once we calculate the tubing capacity, that is bearable foot, we'll multiply this with the total length of the tubing. And the critical point to remember is that the ID should be in inches and the length of the pipe should be in feet. So that's it. Thank you very much. See you in the next tutorial.